Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, after a 42-minute delay due to technical difficulties. We are finally on the air. I am your host, Chad Porto, filled with piss and vinegar like none other. And joining me is the still glorious, despite it all, Marcus Green. Marcus, how the hell are you?
About as well as it can be, man.
Yeah, it's been a day. It's been a day. We're
Hell of a day.
hell of a day. We're not gonna get into it. We're alive. We're going forward. And some major news have been happening this week. We talked about Bound for Glory last week. I'm a little concerned about the direction TNA is going with the partnership with NXT. I do not think Jordan Grace will be here come January, and depending on Josh Alexander's contract, I could see him going to AEW real soon, and that
Mm.
concerns me. But there is some optimism. I know some fans are like, "Oh, Moose is X Division champion." No one said that when Brian Cage won the belt. No one said that when Samoa Joe won the belt. No one said that when Bobby Lashley won the belt. No one said that when so many other non-X Division guys won the belt. Moose is a hell of a worker. Like he legitimately is. I'm excited to see what he does with the belt, especially considering I think he's just gonna put over somebody. And if it's who is it, Leon Slater, the youngster, I don't think anyone's going to complain. I mean, after all, Kurt Angle put over Jay Lethal in '07 with the X Division title, so like
What do you think that leaves
optimism.
for Bailey, real quick?
So if Bailey, I think, is a free agent in 2025 as well, and if he is, fuck. If they re-sign him, if he decides to stay in TNA, I think whatever plans you have, you pivot and you put the world title on Bailey. Because Bailey's the kind of guy who can bring people into your shows. And listen, he's 34, 35. And with the way he wrestles, he may not be wrestling at 38. This is your opportunity. Go. Put the belt on him. But that's just my opinion.
No, right there with you, man. Put up or shut up. You're not somebody I think you can afford to lose. Neither of the three names you just mentioned, they can afford to lose. But the benefit that the other two got is they've been to the mountaintop with with very credible reigns. Bailey hasn't got there yet, and he kind of just got jerked around really on two X Division reigns after a pretty substantial bill for one of them, and then getting it back to the next one the second time. So it's like y'all either go do something with him. Fine. I mean, he's giving y'all behind Alexander your best match, and he might have leaped him at this point. So yeah.
I agree. I think Bailey needs a legitimate top run in the company. And I think he needs to hold that belt for a while. I think it'll do well for the company. It'll do well for Bailey. And it'll help galvanize some things in the company, especially if you lose Alexander and Grace, your two pillars for the last 6, 7 years. With that being said, a pillar of the wrestling community is finally back after months, maybe even close to a year, if not longer. Kenny Omega has announced that in January of next year, so like 2 months from now, he'll be returned to the ring. Not at the Dome show. What was it? It's not Wrestle Kingdom. It's like Wrestle Empire or something like that. It's like the sixth,
Yeah,
I think is what it is.
yeah.
And it
They
seems
just
like
had.
he's going to face off with Gabe Kidd.
Yeah, that's interesting because I thought. I mean, first off, it's just good for Omega to be back because he had a serious health. I mean, what he had diverticulitis, if I'm not mistaken.
You are not.
Um, so I mean, he really could have been out of here. Thankfully, he got whatever doctors he had caught it in time. Because I didn't know he was as banged up as he was when he was having that title run, but he was jacked up. So kudos on him. Although I did think he would be making his return in AEW. You know, I would imagine New Japan feels like home to him, which it should because he actually made that his home for so many years. So this might be a way for him to kind of come back in, slow but steady start. Although nothing is soft when it comes to New Japan, but yeah, like I said, it's just good to have him back. Period. So yeah.
It is interesting that they're not building to the Dome show because that's kind of like their big show. It's what they build the year round, and not even so much build their year round. They start it with the Dome Show. In all honesty, and having Kenny Omega, you would think would bring a whole new batch of eyes to it. But right now, Wrestle Kingdom doesn't have him on the card. So far, the card isn't. So let me say this: the card isn't jam packed with names. It is potentially jam packed with bangers. Save for the first match. Tanahashi's taking on Evil. Fucking Christ. The intergalactic jet setters of Kevin Knight and Kushida are defending their IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions against the Mighty Don't Kneels, Robbie Eagles, and Kosi Fujita. Catch 2-2 with TJP and Francisco Akira. And of course, the Bullet Club War Dogs, Drill Maloney and Clark Connors. Ren Narita will defend the New Japan World Television title against Jeff Cobb and Roy Oya. Oya, am I saying that right? Doki is taking on El Desperado for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. Then we have David Finlay defending his IWGP Global Heavyweight title against Yota Hushi. There we go. I think that's right. The Global Heavyweight title is certainly an idea that they came up with. It was established last year around this time. And the only two people to hold the belt have been David Finlay and Nick Nemeth. Not exactly the most prestigious of titles in the IWGP canon. The main event for the show is looking like it's going to be Zachary Sabre Jr. against Shota Goodhair Umino. Although, maybe his good hair isn't as good as it used to be. What are we thinking about the card so far?
I mean, it sounds like what we was talking about some time back, where they really having to establish this young new era. With so many of their most notable names no longer associated with the company, they have to give these guys the stage and the platform to show, that they could be that next guys, and you have to give them the opportunity to do that. So that's kind of just what this is. Like you said, for the global thing, I'm guessing that's their way. Maybe I'm alone. It's their way of the newest version of like the spot the Intercontinental had.
Mm-hmm.
Although obviously it's nowhere near as prestigious, but that's what you're gonna do. But yeah, like I said, finally got Zach at the top of the card. Um, but yeah, they have to push this new generation of guys because it's just like I said. You didn't think one day you was gonna look up and realize that Tanahashi, Okada, um, and somebody like Minoru just wouldn't be there. But that's kind of where they at. So.
So Minoru is currently rolling with MLW more than not. He's still wrestling in Japan some, but I think if you check his cage match database, Minoru Suzuki is running with MLW the most in 2024. We're going to check real fast. And at 56 years old, like, how much is he running with anyone? He's wrestled 14 freelance shows in Japan, 6 matches with Tenryu Project, 5 matches for Major League Wrestling, 5 matches for All Japan, 4 matches for AEW, 2 matches for New Japan, 3 matches for DDT, and 2 matches for Game Changer. So he's clearly no longer running with New Japan the way he once did. Of course, Tanahashi's getting ready to retire. He's going to retire in 2026 at the not this upcoming Dome show, but the what is it, Wrestle Kingdom 20 is the idea that he's going to retire there. Okada's in AEW. Who else? Naito seems to be slowing down dramatically so, to the point where he may not even make the Dome Show card unless it's in some type of multi-man battle royal tag team match. That's not great. And so, like, you have all these big. Kenny Omega's not there anymore. And when you think about his return, it's kind of shocking that he wouldn't come back and make his return at the Dome Show. But I think maybe he's more interested in putting over somebody else, and maybe they're like, well, if you're going to do that, let's put you on the December 6th, the January 6th card, which, foreboding. Um, are you excited about Gabe Kidd being his opponent?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not. Cause how old is Gabe Kid?
Under 30, I think.
Yeah, not too familiar with Gabe Kid, but like I said, Omega's been in so many of those spots so many times. So I would imagine that he wants to get this individual that opportunity, and I would imagine Kenny's gonna win, but you never know. So, um, but he's always been good about putting people over. I mean, look what he did, for somebody like Takeshita and then the other name. So, yeah, I mean, I am excited to see because like I said, New Japan has to build up these guys. So it's a whole new era for them. Tana's leading and about to be on the way out. Kenny's back, but for only for so long. And then, we don't know if this is going to be kind of one off for right now with him, and he's going to take a little bit of break, want to get his feet wet, or if he's going to be back full bore. Maybe this match is the barometer for that. So, but yeah, it should be good.
So it looks like the Wrestle Dynasty card is still going to be in the Dome show. Like it's going to be not in the Dome show. That makes no sense. It's still going to be in the Tokyo Dome. It's being listed as January 5th. That's one night after Wrestle Kingdom 19. So instead of having two nights of Wrestle Kingdom, I guess they're doing two major shows back to back. And so far, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega are set for the show. And that's where Zachary Sabre Jr. is going to take on Ricochet. So you're going to have Ricochet, Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega representing AEW. And apparently CMLL and possibly Ring of Honor, as well as Stardom, will be involved. So it's going to be a pretty hefty show. While Wrestle Kingdom is, I guess, exclusively just New Japan stars. Does kind of telegraph the Shota Umino Zachary Sabre Jr. World Title match, though. I don't think anyone was seriously considering that Umino was going to win this in the first place. So we'll
Do
see.
do you think they might, back in the day that gold that black and gold NXT era where the takeovers was killing the regular pay per views? Think they might have them with Russell.
I do.
Not
I
Russell.
think I think Wrestle Dynasty, which is the second show back to back next to Wrestle Kingdom, I think this is
Yeah,
going to be a baller of a card. Just Zachary Sabre Jr. versus Ricochet alone.
yeah.
That's gonna be dynamic. I'm excited about that. That's a clash of styles, and I think something that we can all get behind personally. And that leads us to our next tidbit: Ricochet versus Zachary Sabre Jr. Ricochet showed up, attacked the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and basically said, "Hey, I'm back. I want that belt. Let's do this." Ricochet, of course, huge in New Japan. Him and Will Ospreay really made a lot of noise. What was that, 2016, 2017? And it was the catalyst for Ricochet getting signed by the WWE and eventually for New Japan to put Will Ospreay in the position that he did. He wasn't too far removed from working with TNA. Maybe it was like 2019 because I think it was like 2015, 2016. They brought in Zachary Sabre Jr., not Zachary Sabre Jr., Will Ospreay to work a bunch of shows and offered him a contract, but Ospreay turned them down to join New Japan, and it was a big scuttlebutt at the time. So his legacy is galvanized by New Japan, and his rivalry with Ricochet is one of the biggest non-major rivalries that we've seen outside of AEW or WWE or even TNA. They had a great rivalry in New Japan, basically revolving around that one match. I don't know if they ever had a rematch, but that match and the dichotomy between the two men heading into it and following it sent shockwaves through the wrestling community to the point where I think even Vader, a couple years before he passes away, was like, "I'm gonna fight Will Ospreay," And then he does. At like 57 years old or something like that, some madness age. I think people forget what kind of just a cultural touchstone that match was. And you're bringing one half of it back, one of the most famous, if not the most famous match outside of Japan for New Japan. And you're bringing him back into the fold with arguably the best pure technical worker going today, even against Bryan Danielson, who, he's slowed down a little bit. He is in his 40s. I think Sabre Jr. is every bit as good as Bryan Danielson, and you're going to have a high flyer versus a mat technician, arguably one of the best high flyers of all time versus against one of the best modern day technical wrestlers. I think you should be very excited about that match. I don't care about your about your tribalism and your Tony Khans and Paul Levesques of it all and yada yada yada. This is going to be a
Uh,
fun match. If you like pro wrestling, you're probably going to like this match.
yeah, and Ted says watch more wrestling. He's talking about that.
Hmm.
Like it's funny like how polarizing, like you said, that match ended up becoming because wasn't that post Lucha Underground.
I think it was no, I don't think it was post. I think it was heading into or concurrent with.
Gotcha, gotcha. But yeah, it's just crazy because obviously, like you said, they just did some aerial stuff and it wasn't nothing nobody hadn't seen. It was just the level and how they did it. And now, that match has probably been done 1,000 different ways by 1,000 different people. Um, but yeah, like you said, ended up becoming a cultural touchstone. And crazy enough, so how long we've been doing this, I think I remember you talking about maybe not specifically that match, but the whole offspring of it all back then when it came to that situation with TNA, um, which was interesting. And I guess it coming full circle with his recent stint. He kind of closed that loop, if you will, with the resurgence of TNA. So, but yeah, that style, like you said, got the potential to kind of upstage Wrestle Kingdom because they kind of putting all the must see stuff on that show. So
I like what they're doing though. One of the things New Japan needs to do is establish its new identity. Tanahashi, has alluded to this being a process, and it is. It takes a while. You look at TNA in 2016, you look at WWF in 1994. The seeds for their future success get planted. Moose comes in, Sammy Callahan comes in, the Wolves are already in. A couple years later, you bring in Rosemary, then you bring in Jordan Grace, and now, 8 years later, look at the roster. Maybe it's not the most star-studded of all time, but talent-wise, it might be as deep as it's ever been. You look at WWE in 1993, 1994. They are, on fumes. They're trying to build up Shawn Michaels. He hasn't won his first world title yet. They're hoping that guys like Vader and Davey Boy Smith Jr. can carry the brand. They're really going all in on Bret Hart and Diesel. And it doesn't work in the immediacy. But through the development of those guys, you're able to get to eventually Shawn Michaels turning heel. You're able to get to Stone Cold Steve Austin coming in as the ring master and then eventually becoming Stone Cold Steve Austin. You set some guys up with The Undertaker to start building his legacy up. And you start to see, what you planned in 94 blossoming in 97, 98. And I think what you're seeing in New Japan is very similar. You're seeing seeds that were planted last year. Umina, Uemura. You have who's the other guy? There's three of them. There's Shota Umina, there's Uemura, and then there's the other one. Can't remember his name. They brought in who? Jake Lee, I think his name is, from Noah. They're
yeah,
starting to build up guys. They're getting
yeah,
belts on Sabre Jr. They're investing in Gabe Kidd. They're reestablishing their bond with AEW, but they're trying to build up their own domestic arm first, Wrestle Kingdom,
yeah,
and then they're bringing in their superstars from the United States in Wrestle Dynasty. And it's a nice one-two punch, developing the ability to showcase your own top guys in your front of your own audience, hopefully establishing fandoms within these wrestlers that will stretch beyond the years, and then pivoting to the quote unquote All Star game, if you will, the next night,
Yeah,
where more American wrestlers can come in and can help strengthen and further produce moments within the brand that fans will hold on to going well into 2026.
absolutely. And yeah, 100% agree. And they even switching some stuff up with what's supposed to be kind of established foundations in terms of factions, because now it didn't get brought up, before when we was running down the list of stuff to do. But I think Sonata just defected from Five Guys and joined this new faction, the Bullet Club.
Did he?
Yeah.
Sonata's in
So
Bullet Club?
yeah, this like I said, this version of Bullet Club, ever since so many of those classic names left, they've had to it's kind of branched off into so many different variations across TNA and AEW, and then also they had to start in New Japan. So it's that's gonna be interesting because he has been associated with Lij for so long, and then broke off from that to do the whole Five Guys, and then eventually that was his world title running now, doing something new. So they to your point, it does feel like they're paying attention to all the narratives across the company, not just focusing on getting, obviously what they need to do is get new guys into the scene, but you got to cater to all the stuff across the board. So kudos to Tyler and kudos to him as well for knowing that it got to take time. Rome wasn't built in a day, and them trying to rebuild and build up a new Rome in terms of a neo New Japan narrative is go take a minute. So
I do think that Wrestle Dynasty will outsell Wrestle Kingdom this year, but assuming they
mm,
continue with this kind of direction, Wrestle Kingdom is the New Japan Mega Show, Wrestle Dynasty is the New Japan All Star Show. I think by 2027, if all goes well and Japan can get their economy back on track because the inflation over there is just absurd, and they can get their tourism back on track, I think by 2027, Wrestle Kingdom outsells Wrestle Dynasty, assuming they continue this methodology going forward.
yeah, man, it kind of everybody. I guess it's time for them to have that because everybody seemingly has it. Like WWE has, I guess, their variation of it. We know TNA has I was gonna call it Worlds Collide, but that's not it. Um,
They have like into the something verse, right?
yeah, it's the verse. Yeah,
Multiverse United.
yeah, there it is. Multiverse United, and then AEW got what Forbidden Door is theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So now they could turn that into that, and then everybody could be. That'll be a good list of comparison for everybody since everybody love to do that. So who has the best super shows or whatever, whatever. So yeah, like I said, it's a new time in New Japan. I done fell off watching it, but might be a good time to get back invested with that. Wrestle Dynasty.
It's always a fun time, Wrestle Kingdom time of year. We'll see if I decide to stay up for it or if I decide to wake up early for it. Either way, I'll be watching it live. Speaking of watching it live, Bobby Lashley is finally in AEW. He partnered up with his old Hurt Business colleagues in MVP and Shelton Benjamin. They're now going under the new moniker of the Baldies. That's actually an old ECW name group. So they are now the Hurt Syndicate, of course. Lashley is proving once and for all that he is a megastar with no taste in how he dresses.
Oh, you didn't like the Barney man, the Barney leather?
I did not like the Barney leather. I did not. I did not like looking at Bobby Lashley wearing the rawhide remains of a famous purple dinosaur.
Chad, like if we was watching a movie and he was a pimp named Blurby, now we'd having a different conversation, but that's not what that
Bobby also put
was.
his foot in his mouth recently, talking about how he wanted to do a program with Gunther where Gunther would start saying some Nazi shit to him. And everyone's like, Bobby, shut up. I agree.
I saw some of you some of some like you people don't get title shots
Yeah.
from me or something like that. I'm like, bro, I'm like we with everything we got going on now and stuff we're seeing and scuttlebutt around that company's. inconsistency with color performers. We don't need the you people of, well, they don't need the you people of it all.
Not
So
even a little. Not
I
even a
mean,
little. Now that being said, his stupid idea with like just have Big Gunther versus Bobby. Like, geez, like it writes itself. Hoss fight. I do think this group could be huge. They're inserting them right into Swerve's program at the moment. The face, by the way, and I found the perfect photo for it. The face that Nana made when Shelton was choking him out.
oh yeah, Nana got a great. He reaching Paul level Heyman's of victim faces.
He really, no, he's past it. Come on. I'm
Uh,
I'm curious to see where this goes. I really am. Because are we gonna get a fourth person? Are we going to
yeah,
get someone else? Like Cedric is still under contract with WWE. Last I heard, right?
yeah, he's they kind of sent him down to NXT to work with guys like Javon Evans, who just beat uh Wes Lee in a match with a little bit of help from RVD. You know, they had that Philly in the 23 Arena kind of ECW show
Yeah, I was
tonight.
watching some of that tonight. It was not good.
Yeah, yeah. So Don Marie was random as hell. Was in the way as a
Booker T's
referee, but I digress.
Booker T is bad at his job. I don't mean like Booker T's an acquired taste, because like you could say that about Rayold and Hammerfern. Hammer. It sounds like
Hannafin, yeah.
it sounds like I can't. It sounds like I'm just like like swearing like Hammerfern. But like Booker's objectively like there's only three things in this world you can rely on. It's death, taxes, and Booker T being bad at commentary. It's a
He,
scientific fact. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. E equals MC squared. Booker T is bad at commentary squared.
he says a lot of stuff and he says a lot of stuff loud repeatedly. What the hell? What the hell? Yeah, it's yeah. When he's on, he's on. When he's not, it's dark out.
When
No pun intended.
he's on, and that's not very often. He's like a he's like a fully lit house in the middle of nowhere.
That's hilarious. Well, yeah, that's a great explanation for that. But yeah, it's Hurt Syndicate, man. Yeah, it's cool too because you can tell you can already tell they have more freedom,
Hmm.
which is what they kind of need. And the MVP, come on, man, MVP has a great mind for the business. You know, and it's cool that he consistently is now getting to work with guys that he likes and is familiar with. Just kind of doing his thing, and he kind of said it tonight. You know, he kicked off the show. He was like, if you we give you a card, you good, you good, you be a good prospect. Business could be good for you, but if you don't, you finna go on a hurt list. So it's like them going around. The only thing I don't like is that Max Caster popped up with a card.
Yeah, Max
Uh,
Caster. Yeah, he deserves a card. He deserves a slip.
lip. Yeah, there it is.
It just should be pink.
Pink. Yes,
Max
yes, hot
Caster is a
pink.
goddamn abomination. He must have photos of Tony Khan humping like a capuchin monkey or something, right? Like he's got to have
Uh,
something. Like Tony Khan's like curled up in bed naked with like a shrew, or like he's seen like giving like romantic kisses to a
yeah,
porcupine.
he caught Tony Khan naked with a cardboard cutout of Katie Vick. Oh man.
More like he's caught Tony Khan in bed with a naked cardboard cutout of Triple H dressed as Kane on top of Katie Vick.
Oh man, but yeah, that's yeah. So I mean, it's cool. You know what? Thinking about it, that could actually be a good thing because they look like they're teasing it. Thank God, because we called for it. A potential breakup between him, your boy Bowens and Caster finally, because Caster's feeling himself, and I'm hoping now that you brought that up that they do a thing because Bowens was like, why the freak did you keep that card in the middle of a promo? That he pulled it out because he was bragging. And I wondered, like, it'll be cool because there's another thing we've been calling for is Bones to get the spotlight because he got tons of potential. If he screwed over Caster, they broke up, and he joined the Syndicate.
I was just thinking the same thing. If Anthony Bowens joins the Syndicate, because
I'm like Anthony Bowen's in a suit. That's interesting.
you can finally stare into the whole 5-star athlete thing that he's been doing, and actually like highlight that. I think it'd be a fantastic move. You'd break him away from the albatross that is Max Caster, and at 33, he's not exactly young in the wrestling business, but he's only 33 in an industry where guys well into their mid to late 50s are still headlining shows. Now is the time to see what you got in the kid. I say go for it. He's already proven to
Yeah,
be very charismatic.
yeah, man. And not for nothing, you can kind of easily go down the list of potential candidates because it's not like this is a diverse syndicate. It's very specific. You know what I'm saying? So,
I don't think I'd make it.
Max Max Caster, Leo Rush got a card, Ricochet got an offer and all that. So it's gonna be interesting to see who kind of breaks the mold because now they kind of doing this divide in AEW with everything going on with Moxley faction. People are having to team up. Even your boy,
I have many boys.
uh, your one you went to school with,
Oh,
big
Shane
man from
Taylor,
Ring of Honor. Yeah, Shane Taylor. Thank you. I
the
don't know why I was blanking on
shepherd
his
of
name.
pain.
Yes, yes,
Se-
Shane Taylor Promotions.
Seriously, Shane
Of course.
Taylor, if you're listening, and I know you're not, your last name is actually Shepherd. You could easily call yourself the shepherd of pain. What are we doing here?
Yeah, but even he just recruited two new guys. Um, that all tag team out. The name escapes me right now, but that's cool. So yeah, lines are being drawn in the sand over there. But yeah, Hurt Syndicate, man, it's just good to see them back. It's something interesting for to have Swerve do coming back off of everything he did with Paige. And like you said, if this leads to like more and more stuff with Nana, who was just brilliant, finds his, brilliant moments to shine. So yeah, I'm digging that, and I'm glad. It's one of them times where just because it's predictable don't mean it's bad, but everybody kind of assumed that if we got MVP, we would be getting the other two. So yeah,
I think we can finally figure out why Triple H doesn't like AEW. I'm just gonna leave that right there. There's a lot of photo negatives on AEW if you're Triple H, and clearly he ain't down with that. Being down with, however, is apparently how some fans are with Samantha Irving, as in being down bad. This poor woman just wants to live her fucking life. All she wants to do is sing, hang out with her, I don't know, boyfriend, husband, Ricochet, and maybe do some stuff in wrestling. She loves wrestling. She is genuinely enthusiastic about wrestling. She does not like ring announcing. She wanted to do more. She wanted to be a manager. She wanted to be a GM. She wanted to be an on-screen character in some way. She wanted to act and perform. And they said no. They also said no to Cody Rhodes. They're like, hey, Cody, you're a bit part player. Everyone's got a role to play, and yours is being a bitch. And then Cody's like, bet I'm going to dye my hair blonde, just like my idol. Save America, just like my idol. Then come back to the WWE and take over things, just like my idol.
by the way, how apropos right now is the two words American Nightmare?
Well, if you're watching, Friday Night SmackDown, it's pretty much nightmarish every week. Oh my God! The bloodlines stand tall to close the show. Oh, good. It's a day that ends in Y. It's not like we haven't been seeing this for 4 fucking years. It's the hottest storyline in wrestling.
Hey
No,
Jack,
it's the
what?
burntest storyline in wrestling. We've heated it up past the point of expiration. It's no longer edible. It's just a chunk of black crust at this point. Whatever
Like
it
that, Jack.
used to be, it's just a husk of black, burnt nothing.
Yeah, yeah, Chad. It's Samoan cinema.
Marcus, Solo Sokoa could literally rip the heart out of Roman Reigns' chest live on pay per view. Eat it, spit it out, sew it back up, plunge it back into Roman's chest, resuscitate him, pin him, and I still wouldn't give a shit.
Man,
Solo pinned Roman. Don't care. I
I,
don't
I was
care, man.
I was looking at that stuff on the Saudi show. I said, look, man, between these entrances and how these plotting ass matches are going, they just using this entire family as one big time suck at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no interest in seeing any of this. And then like Sami Zayn and Roman do that stupid spot where Sami goes to kick Solo in the back of the head. So and Sami can see Roman about to spin. Like, well, it's so dumb. It's so fucking
It's
dumb. It's so dumb.
it's
It's so dumb. Just like these fans giving Samantha Irvin shit. I saw people were like, Samantha Irvin needs to be grateful. She should be thanking the WWE. And it's like, these zealots would literally let Triple H piss on them if he had nowhere else to pee. And they would thank him. Thank you for your golden glory. Because
uh,
in any other walk of life, in any other industry, if you get hired to do a job and you don't like it and you're like, you know what? I appreciate the opportunity, but I'd rather go do something else. No one would say shit. Hey, listen, I work in a retail store and I got the opportunity to go be a salesman on the road. Your GM's not going to be like, fuck you, loser. He's going to be like, man, I wish you nothing but the best. But these fans are so obsessed with this fictitious war that does not matter. That's not real. Fighting for one side or the other is stupid. We need as many profitable wrestling companies as possible. Otherwise, you get 2004 era SmackDown and Raw. And I'm sorry, but anyone who thinks that 2004 Raw was good has been lobotomized by Triple H's big fat nose. We need healthy competition. We need promotions that aren't the WWE in the mainstream so that people can get paid a decent living, so that they can wrestle full time, so they can work on their craft, so they can develop their personalities, and so they can keep the industry fresh and ever changing and ever growing. Shitting on
yeah,
someone for leaving the WWE is not the way to go, especially somebody who has not said a negative word about the WWE. She just said, I want to sing. I don't want to do a ring announcer. I want to be a manager. They wouldn't let me. So I left. That's not an insult. There's no, like, evilness there. Like, she
she
didn't
said she
call it
was
a pile of
literally
trash in the middle of the ocean.
yeah, she literally said she was crying and she was typing out her goodbye to them. Like she knows what she meant to the fan base, and that's probably and Ricochet talked about it on in the interview recently. That was the hardest part for her was the fans because they loved her. They fell in love with her. She was the greatest thing since sliced bread. With the introduction, some people thought she was some idiots saying she got too much camera time. She was doing too much. I'm like, so now you people are booing people who actually enjoy the job, which is hilarious.
She got booed by the WWE fan base for being too into her job. And then she's being booed by the same losers who are like, you should have been grateful for your job. Maybe she would have been if you didn't start saying she was cringe because she got emotional seeing her friend Cody Rhodes win the world title. I don't know. Seems weird to me that you have an issue with her. Then again, after Tuesday, I'm not going to sit here and be surprised that a bunch of white dudes had a problem with a biracial chick. I'm not surprised by that, Marcus. Not even a little.
And how many of these fat scans even knew the background of the fact that she actually did a legitimate tryout before they ever came up with the idea of putting her in the position to be an announcer?
Right?
Like she did the same trial all those those up and coming or the people trying to get in the NXT go through and everything, and then hook about crook, something happens, things change and switch up as they always do in WWE, and then she got put in the slot, and she did and made the most of it. She's multi-talented, and who knows? Like I said, people get stuck on one thing that they like about somebody that like what they do, and they want to run it into the ground. That's why the Seth Rollins music crap is always gonna be a thing now.
So, Marcus, it's not a surprise if you're a longtime listener. We are photo negatives of one another.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that. That's life. We are who we are. Now, that being said, I don't like to speak on experiences I don't know anything about. Just like I hope people wouldn't speak on experiences they don't know anything about. That being said, I think it's a little weird, just a little, that black men are calling her and Ricochet mongrels, which is a super racist term for biracial people. And I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, God, the irony. The fucking irony. I feel bad for Samantha Irving. It's like she can't win for losing. She thanks the W. They call her ungrateful. She lashes out at trolls who are giving her shit. They call her fucking racial slurs. It's just they jealous of her because they ain't her, Marcus or Ricochet. If they had the chance to be, you know they would.
Yeah, and these are the same people that will run up to them in the airport and try to have them sign some stuff so they can sell it on eBay, so they can continue to thrive in their relative's basement. I'm sure.
Right?
Uh, but it's yeah, man. God bless her. She did did everybody a favor in that role, and they got Lillian back in there now. She's doing her thing, and she's a legend as well. So people oftentimes don't take time to be like, we're thankful we had this person at all, for this experience and at all. They just want to son of a bitch and moan about, just like, and just we didn't talk about this before either, because I don't think it would ever got too much time. But it's another situation where recent people got released,
Mm-hmm.
and then now all of a sudden, oh my God, why did they do that to Baron Corbin? He was suck at.
Yeah, the revisionist history is certainly something to be interesting about. Speaking of revisionist history, once upon a time, Davey Boy Smith was the future of the WWE. So
Yeah,
much so
man.
that they brought him back, like, what, 2 years ago? 3 years ago? And they didn't do shit with him. Davey Boy's been wrestling in the public eye for 20 years, maybe longer, maybe 2002. I remember hearing about him in 2006 when he was like 19, and he was wrestling Teddy Hart at a baseball field. And I think Teddy Hart like jumped off the netting of the foul line. It's fucking wild. It took 20 plus years. Stints in the WWE, Billy Corgan's Resistance Pro, several stints in New Japan, and MLW. And Davey Boy Smith Jr. has finally won his first major title. He won the All Japan Triple Crown Championship this past weekend. Thank Johnny Ace of all people.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was wild. Still, though, Davey Boy Jr. is one of the more respected wrestlers in the world, and he's one of the better technical wrestlers. Like, if you've ever seen him on Bloodsport, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, you know how technically sound he is. And if you've ever seen him in MLW or New Japan as a member of, what is it, the KES, the Killer Elite Squad with Lance Hoyt, Lance Archer, Vance Archer, whatever you want to call him, you know he's super talented, and I think All Japan going with Davey Boy Jr. is the right move. I think it comes at a time when and here's the thing: the stars might be leaving Japan, but one of the things that's happening is that talent is rising up. You look at Noah, you look at New Japan, you look at All Japan, you look at Stardom. Uh, uh, what is it? Ice Ribbon. There's so many up and coming talents that are just flooding the scene right now. It's remarkable. And I think All Japan going with Davey Boy is a smart call. And I'm interested to see if they give him a legitimate run with this belt as opposed to shotting it off of him onto whomever next. But I think this is a good idea. And if MLW brings him in for the next set of tapings with that belt, you can start building up to the idea of him versus Satoshi Kojima in a champion versus championship match. And I think Davey Boy Smith makes more sense as an MLW world champion than Matt Riddle does. So, Marcus, any thoughts on the big title win for Davy Boy?
It was just really cool to see, and happy to hear it because I first got introduced to him when he debuted with as part of the Hard Dynasty, um, in the mid 2000s. So um, with Tyson Kidd with that crown spike on top of his head. Uh,
We don't talk
so
about
this,
that here.
yeah, so yeah, it's just cool to see. Look, he's been. Like, I remember we talked about him some years back, and he was that guy. Like he wasn't as old as you would think he was for the amount of wrestling experience that he had. Um, and he's truly really had like a journeyman's story in wrestling. And hopefully, one day somebody do one of those some type of documentary on him or something because I think just that story. I think it would be interesting. Like he's really been everywhere, doing everything. Like the true definition of the grind. Um, and now everything's paid off. Now I don't know how old he is now, but like it's fewer people that have as much experience, as much dedication, and heart. No pun intended for the business and what he does and stick to it in this because not getting to places and spaces and not really landing nowhere consistent or really getting that prime opportunity like you said some years back where they basically I would imagine it was just kind of paying him to sit at home or come there and do nothing
Mm-hmm.
in WWE. So he really has been real true journeyman and somebody that's really stuck to his foundation again, no pun intended, of the business and also like very non-problematic as well.
Yeah, I haven't heard
So,
any major issues with him. So,
yeah,
that doesn't mean, truly a lot, but it
yeah,
does mean something. Like,
yeah,
to be in this industry for, you know, 20 odd years. Sorry, longer than that. His first match apparently started in 1995 with Stampede Wrestling. So he's my age. So he was like 9 or 10 years old when he wrestled his first match. That's
yeah.
wild. That's wild.
Yeah,
At
so
38, I think
yeah,
he's still in great shape. He still moves pretty well, and he's still a hell of a wrestler. Now that he's the Triple Crown champion, and while he still wrestles in MLW, he's had 9 matches this year in MLW. He's had 34 in All Japan. In fact, this is the most amount of matches he's had since 2019 in a year, and he's still going. So here's
yeah,
hoping.
man. Congratulations to you, man. That's one of those persons where the over exaggerated "you deserve it" chant is actually correct.
Agreed. All right. With all that being said, we're going to wrap it up there. We'll have more to talk about, I'm sure, next Tuesday. Um, so, for another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast, you can find Marcus over at Paradox Kid on Twitter, PARADOXKID.
That's me.
You can also hear his other podcast, The True Penny Show, over on Twitter at True Penny Show, TRUEPENNYSHOW. They talk a lot of GLEAT, which is another Japanese, or is it Japanese, right?
Yeah,
Japanese company in GLEAT. You can also find me on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, CHDNERDCORP, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photohut, CHADSPHOTOHUT. The website's realnerdcorp.com, I think.
yeah.
No, it's nerdcorp.com. Wait. It's realnerdcorp.com. Before the end of the year, I'm probably going to get the changeover, the new name up for the website, so be on the lookout for that, probably at the end of December. Or the start of January. The the Twitch and YouTube is Wrestling Underground. Twitter, yeah, is also I think it's Wrestling Underground as well. Let me double check. I never seem to remember. That's just who I am. It might be like Wrestling Under G. Let's find out. It's still Nerdcorp on Twitter. Never mind. Ignore me. We'll be back next Tuesday for another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. We'll be back next Tuesday. You got a promise on that. Marcus, with all that being said, why don't you take us home?
Good night, me.